At my mom's birthday, my son gave her a handmade bracelet he'd spent days making. My nephew threw it in the trash and said, "No one cares." My sister smirked. That night, I got a text from Dad. "Maybe step back from family events." I replied, "Already stepping back from funding you." By morning, my dad had left 21 voicemails. Can you imagine watching your own family, the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, toss your son's most heartfelt gift into the trash, laugh about it, and then accuse you of being the problem for defending him? That moment wasn't just heartbreak for my son. It was the catastrophic implosion of my entire family, and it all started with a handmade bracelet. I'm Sarah, and this is the story of how I realized my own family had been using me like an ATM machine while treating my sweet boy like he didn't matter at all. It was my mom's 55th birthday party. I'd spent weeks planning every single detail. I rented out her favorite Italian restaurant, ordered the custom cake she'd been dreaming about since January, and even flew in her college roommate from Seattle as a complete surprise. But honestly, none of that grand effort mattered compared to what my 8-year-old son, Leo, had been working on in secret. For 6 days straight, Leo had been disappearing into his room after dinner, completely absorbed in something he wouldn't show me. He'd asked me to buy specific colors of embroidery thread, lavender and sage green, my mom's absolute favorites. I'd peek through his door and see him hunched over his little desk, his tongue poking out in concentration, his tiny fingers clumsy but so determined. He was making her a friendship bracelet, meticulously weaving those threads into an intricate pattern he'd found on YouTube. The morning of the party, he showed it to me with the proudest smile I had ever seen on his face. "Do you think Grandma will like it?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with pure hope. I hugged him so tight, my heart aching. "She's going to love it, baby," I told him. "You made this with your own hands. That's the best kind of gift." Did I have any idea what was coming? Not a clue. We arrived at the restaurant right on time. My sister, Monica, was already there with her husband, Derek, and their son, my nephew, Brandon, who was 13. Brandon had always been the golden child of the family. Captain of his soccer team, honor roll student, the kid my parents couldn't stop bragging about. Leo, on the other hand, was quieter, more artistic, a deep soul. He struggled with reading, yes, but he could draw things that made my heart ache with their sheer beauty. The party was going well. Everyone was laughing, eating, having a genuinely good time. I'd already shelled out about $3,000 for the whole thing, but seeing my mom happy made it worth every penny. Or so I desperately thought. When it came time for presents, Leo could barely sit still. He was clutching that little bracelet in his hand, fidgeting, waiting for his turn. My dad went first with a gardening set. Monica gave Mom a spa day voucher. Then finally Leo stood up. He walked over to my mom, his small figure radiating a silent pride, and held out his gift. "I made this for you, Grandma," he said quietly, his voice shy but so incredibly sincere. "It took me a really long time, but I wanted you to have something special." My mom took it, glanced at it for maybe 2 seconds, and said, "Oh, how sweet." It was that voice, you know? The one that means she's already thinking about something else, something far more interesting. She set it on the table next to her wine glass. That's when Brandon, my nephew, picked it up. He dangled it between 2 fingers like it was contaminated, wrinkled his nose in disgust, and sneered, "This is so babish. Who even makes friendship bracelets anymore?" Before anyone could even react, he casually tossed it into the trash can near our table. "No one cares about this junk," he announced, a sickening smirk plastered across his face. I watched my son's face absolutely crumble. His bottom lip started trembling, and he looked down at his shoes, trying so hard not to cry in front of everyone. And my sister Monica? She laughed. Actually, truly, openly laughed. "Brandon, you're terrible," she chuckled, but she was grinning like he'd just told the funniest joke in the world. My mom said nothing. My dad just chuckled, shaking his head like, "Boys will be boys." I felt something cold and sharp slide right into my chest, twisting. "Excuse me," I said, my voice unnaturally calm, cutting through the chatter like a knife. Did anyone just see what happened? Monica rolled her eyes. Sarah, relax. It's not that serious. Not that serious? My blood began to boil. I stood up, walked to the trash can, and pulled out Leo's bracelet.
It had sauce on it now.
My son, I said, holding up the now sullied gift, spent almost a week making this. A week. And your kid just threw it away like garbage while you all sat here and did nothing. It's just a bracelet, Monica said, suddenly defensive, her tone dismissive. Leo can make another one. I looked at my parents, my eyes begging them to say something, anything. Are you going to say anything? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Anything at all? My dad cleared his throat, avoiding my gaze. Let's not make a scene, Sarah. It's your mother's birthday. That's when it hit me. A terrible, gut-wrenching realization. They didn't care. None of them cared about Leo's feelings, his effort, his innocent love. Not one bit. I grabbed Leo's hand, cleaned off the bracelet as best I could, and said, "We're leaving." "Sarah, don't be dramatic." My mom finally spoke up, her voice annoyed. Dramatic. I grabbed my purse. I paid for this entire party. Every single thing. And you can't even defend my son when he's been humiliated right in front of your eyes? We left. Leo cried in the car the whole way home. I held it together, just barely, until I got him tucked into bed. And then I went to my kitchen, slumped onto a stool, and cried too. Imagine what I felt when my phone buzzed at 11 p.m. that night. It was a text from my dad. Maybe take a break from family events for a while. You're too sensitive and it makes everyone uncomfortable. I stared at that message for a full minute, my mind reeling. Too sensitive. After everything I'd done for them, after all the money I'd poured into their lives, I was the problem because I defended my own child? So I texted back one simple sentence. Already taking a break from funding you. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. By 6 o'clock the next morning, my phone was exploding. 21 missed calls from my dad. 16 from my mom. 8 from Monica. I listened to the first voicemail from my dad. His voice was laced with pure fury. "Sarah, what the hell do you mean you're not funding us anymore? Call me back right now. We need to talk about this. You can't just..." I deleted it without listening to the rest. You want to know what happens when you suddenly stop being someone's personal bank? Very soon, you're about to find out just how quickly family love can turn into something else entirely. And trust me, what I discovered about how much money I'd actually been giving them, it was going to shock me as much as it might shock you. The next morning, I sat down with my bank statements. I'd never actually added it all up before. That was my first mistake, just sending money whenever they asked without keeping track, like some kind of thoughtless ATM. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the last 2 years of transactions. $32,000. I stared at that number until it didn't even look like a number anymore. $32,000 in 24 months to my parents and sister. Down payments, car repairs, Monica's credit card debt, Dad's business investment that never happened, Mom's kitchen renovation, Brandon's soccer camp, their mortgage payments when Dad claimed the economy was tough. And I'd given it all without question because that's what family does, right?
Wrong.
I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my best friend, Rachel. She called me immediately, her voice incredulous. "Sarah, this is insane. You've been supporting 3 adults who all have jobs." "I know," I whispered, the words catching in my throat. "What are you going to do?" she asked. That's when I decided. I was done. The calls kept coming, a constant barrage. I blocked my dad's number first, then my mom's. Monica left a voicemail that cut deep. "You're being childish, Sarah. Dad needs help with his truck payment this month, and you're really going to ignore him over a stupid bracelet?" A stupid bracelet. That's what my son's love was worth to them. I didn't respond. Instead, I took Leo to his favorite pancake place. While he covered his short stack in way too much syrup, I asked him, "How are you feeling, buddy?" He just shrugged, small and defeated. "Brandon's always mean to me," he mumbled. Then he added, in a voice that broke my heart all over again, "I thought maybe if I made Grandma something really nice, they'd like me more." Leo, listen to me. You don't need anyone to like you more. You're already perfect. Do you think an 8-year-old should have to try to earn his family's affection? 3 days passed. My phone was still blowing up, but now with texts I could see on my lock screen. Mom, you're tearing this family apart. Dad, I raised you better than this. Monica, you've always thought you were better than us just because you make more money. That last one actually made me let out a bitter laugh. I didn't think I was better. I just had boundaries now. Then my cousin Amy called. Amy was my mom's niece, and we'd always been close. Sarah, she said, her voice gentle. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Did they tell you their version? I asked. Where I'm a terrible daughter? No, Amy said. My mom told me. She was at the party, remember? She saw everything. I had completely forgotten my aunt was there. What did she say? I asked, my voice shaky. That Brandon was a brat. Monica encouraged it. And your parents just let it happen. She said you were right to leave. Amy paused, then her voice dropped. She also said this isn't the first time she's seen them treat Leo differently than Brandon. Something cold settled in my stomach. What do you mean? Sarah, Amy said softly, you're always so busy paying for things and organizing stuff that I don't think you notice. But Brandon gets praised constantly. Leo gets tolerated. I sat down hard on my couch. He was right. Every family dinner, every holiday. I'd been so focused on making everything perfect that I hadn't seen the pattern. There's something else, Amy said quietly. Your dad told my mom that you owe them. That they helped you when you were younger, so you should help them now. Is that true? I thought back. They co-signed my student loans, but I paid those off 6 years ago. Every cent, that's what I thought, I murmured. Sarah, they're telling everyone you're abandoning them when they need you most. Of course, they were. That night, I drafted an email. I wrote down every instance I could remember of them prioritizing Brandon over Leo. Every single time they'd asked for money. Every promise they'd made to pay me back that never happened. I didn't send it. Not yet. But what came next? What my dad did when he realized I was serious. That's when things got really ugly. And I have to ask you, what would you have done in my position? Because very soon, I was going to have to make a choice that would either fix my family or finish destroying it completely. A week after I cut them off, my sister showed up at my house unannounced. I opened the door to find Monica standing there, her eyes red, mascara smudged down her cheeks. For a second, just a tiny fleeting second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Can I come in? She asked, her voice small, trembling. I hesitated, but stepped aside. Leo was at school, so at least he wouldn't have to see this. Monica sat on my couch and immediately started crying harder, loud, gasping sobs. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about what Brandon did. I should have said something. I crossed my arms, unimpressed. Yeah, you should have. I know I was wrong, she choked out. But Sarah, we need help. Derek lost his job 3 weeks ago, and we're drowning. The mortgage is due. Brandon's tuition stop. I held up my hand, cutting her off. You came here to apologize, or to ask for money? She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Both. Unbelievable. Do you see what I was dealing with? The answer is no, Monica. Her tears dried up instantly. Her whole face changed, hardening into a mask of pure resentment. You know what? Amy was right about you. You have changed. Ever since Leo's dad left, you've been bitter and angry, and you just take it out on the rest of us. That hit me like a physical slap across the face. Excuse me? You throw your money around to feel important, and the second we don't worship you for it, you cut us off. You're not a victim, Sarah. You're manipulative. I walk to the door and open it wide. Get out.
Fine.
But don't come crying to us when you need family. She grabbed her purse and stormed out. I stood there, shaking, tears of anger welling in my eyes. Then I called Amy. She said what? Amy's voice was sharp with anger. I repeated Monica's words, my voice cracking. Amy, am I manipulative? Have I been using money to control them? Sarah, stop. Amy's voice softened, but remained firm. You've been supporting them. There's a difference. And I need to tell you something. I was going to wait, but after this, you need to know. My stomach dropped, a cold dread washing over me. Know what? Amy took a deep breath. Your dad came to my parents' house 2 days ago, asking to borrow $15,000. He told them you'd had a breakdown, that you'd stopped taking your medication, that you were being irrational, and they just needed to wait it out until you were stable again. The room literally tilted. My own father was telling people I was mentally ill? Yes, Amy confirmed, her voice laced with disgust. My dad almost believed him, until my mom reminded him that she was at the party and saw everything. Sarah, your dad is telling everyone you're unstable. He's trying to turn the whole family against you. I couldn't breathe. My own father was spreading malicious lies about my mental health to justify why I'd stopped giving him money. There's more, Amy said quietly. I did some digging. You know that business investment your dad needed money for last year? The $10,000. Yeah, for his friend's contracting company, I said, my voice hollow. There is no contracting company. I searched business registrations, asked around. Sarah, I think he gambled it away. My uncle has been going to the casino 3 times a week for the past year. The phone slipped in my hand. $10,000.
Gone.
Just gone. That night, I couldn't sleep a wink. I kept thinking about everything. The lies, the manipulation, the sickening favoritism toward Brandon, the casual cruelty. Around 2 a.m., I made a decision that probably seemed crazy. I was going to gather evidence, real, irrefutable evidence, and I was going to confront all of them at once. But first, I needed leverage. And that's when I remembered something. My parents had signed paperwork when I gave them money for the kitchen renovation. They promised, in writing, to pay me back within 2 years. That deadline had passed 8 months ago. I started going through my files, meticulously looking for every text message, every email, every signed document. I built a case like I was going to court, as maybe I was. Then, 3 days later, something happened that I never ever saw coming. Something that changed everything. My doorbell rang at 7 p.m. I opened it to find my dad standing there, but he wasn't angry. He looked broken. Sarah, he said, his voice raw, hoarse. Your mother is in the hospital. My heart stopped dead in my chest. What happened? She collapsed this morning, he choked out, his voice cracking. They're running tests, but they think it might be her heart. She's been asking for you. I stood frozen, grappling with an overwhelming wave of disbelief and fear. Was this real, or was this another sick manipulation? Do you think I believed him? Because what I decided to do next, it was either going to make me the worst daughter in the world, or it was going to reveal the truth about just how far my family was willing to go. And honestly, I wasn't sure which one I was hoping for. I looked at my dad's face, searching desperately for any sign of deception. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembling. Either he was telling the truth, or he'd become an incredible actor. Which hospital? I asked carefully, my voice flat. St. Mary's, he replied. Sarah, please, she needs to see you. I grabbed my keys and called my neighbor to watch Leo. The whole drive to the hospital, my mind was racing. If this was real, I'd never forgive myself for doubting him. But if it was fake, I'd never forgive them for using something so cruel against me. When I walked into the ICU waiting room, Monica was there. So was my Uncle Tom, my Aunt Linda, and Amy. Amy caught my eye and gave me a small, empathetic nod. It was real. My mom had actually collapsed. I felt sick with guilt. Here I was building a case against them like some kind of lawyer, while my mom was hooked up to machines, potentially fighting for her life. A doctor came out. Family of Margaret Chin? We all stood up in unison, a huddle of anxious faces. She's stable now. It was a severe panic attack that triggered an arrhythmia. Her heart is okay, but she's very stressed. We want to keep her overnight for observation. A panic attack? Not a heart attack. I felt my shoulders relax slightly, a wave of immense relief washing over me, quickly followed by confusion. Can we see her? My dad asked. 2 at a time. Keep it brief and calm, please. My dad looked at me, a silent plea in his eyes. Sarah, will you come with me? Monica's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. My mom looked so small in that hospital bed, pale and vulnerable. When she saw me, tears immediately started rolling down her face. Sarah, baby, she choked out, I'm so sorry. I pulled a chair close, and something in me softened despite everything that had happened. Mom, what happened? She glanced nervously at my dad, then back at me. I've been so stressed. The fighting, the money problems, feeling like I'm losing my daughter. She trailed off. It all just became too much. My dad jumped in, seizing the moment. See what this has done to her, Sarah? We need to fix this family. That's when I noticed something. My dad's hand on my mom's shoulder. It wasn't comforting. It was controlling. She flinched ever so slightly under his grip. Dad, I said, my voice firm. Can you give me a minute alone with Mom? His face hardened. I don't think. Please, my mom said quietly, her voice weak. Just a few minutes. He left reluctantly, his gaze a mixture of anger and suspicion. I waited until the door closed, then turned back to my mom. Mom, tell me the truth. What's really going on? She closed her eyes, a fresh wave of tears spilling. Your father is in trouble, Sarah. Bad trouble. My stomach dropped. The gambling. Her eyes flew open, wide with alarm. You know? Amy told me. How bad is it? My mom started crying harder, desperate sobs shaking her small frame. We're going to lose the house. He owes people money. Not just the casino, but actual people who are calling at all hours, showing up at the door. That's why he needed your help so desperately. Why didn't defend Leo at the party? I was terrified of making your father angry, because he's been so on edge. Everything clicked into place. The constant need for money. The aggression when I said no. The lies. How much does he owe? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. $73,000. I felt dizzy, my head swimming. Mom, that's... I know, she whispered. Sarah, I wanted to tell you so many times, but he made me promise. He said you'd judge us, that you'd think we were failures. Monica knows, too. Derek didn't lose his job. They're hiding money from their accounts so your father can't guilt them into helping anymore. So, Monica's tears at my house were completely fake. She knew everything and still tried to manipulate me. Mom, why didn't you just tell me? Because I'm ashamed. Because I've watched him treat Leo differently than Brandon, and I said nothing. Because I've let him turn me into someone who chooses her husband's secrets over her grandson's feelings. She grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know. I kept the bracelet. My breath hitched. What? She pulled down her hospital gown sleeve, and there it was. Leo's bracelet. The threads faded from wear, wrapped around her wrist. I pulled it out of the trash when no one was looking, she whispered. And I've been wearing it every day since the party. I started crying too, tears streaming down my face. I'm so sorry about Leo, she whispered. He deserves better. You both do. We sat there, crying together, a silent symphony of pain and truth, when suddenly the door burst open. My dad stormed in, his face purple with rage. What are you telling her? He demanded, his eyes narrowed, fixed on my mom. Margaret, what did you say? My mom shrank back, fear flashing in her eyes, and I stood up, putting myself squarely between them. She told me the truth. I snapped, my voice ringing with newfound defiance. About the gambling, the debt, all of it. His face went from purple to a terrifying shade of crimson. You had no right. She had every right. I shot back. Dad, you need help. Professional help. This isn't normal. Don't you dare speak to me like that. I'm your father. You owe me respect. Respect. I felt years of frustration, of being taken advantage of being dismissed, boiling over. You've lied to me, used me, spread rumors about my mental health, and let your grandson be humiliated by his own cousin. What exactly have you done to earn my respect? That's when he said something that made my blood run cold, a sinister threat that echoed in the sterile room. If you don't help us, I'll make sure you never see your mother again. I'll tell the whole family what a selfish, cold-hearted. That's enough. We both turned. My mom had sat up in bed, yanking off her monitors. Alarms started beeping wildly. Margaret, lie down. My dad started, rushing toward her. No, she roared, her voice surprisingly strong, full of an anger I'd never heard before. I'm done. Richard, I'm done with the lies, the manipulation, the gambling. I'm done watching you destroy our family. She looked at me, her eyes burning with more strength than I'd seen in years. Sarah, don't give him a single dollar. Not one more cent. A nurse rushed in, her eyes wide with alarm. Ma'am, you need to calm down. But my mom wasn't finished. I want a divorce. The room went completely, utterly silent, the only sound the frantic beeping of the monitors. Do you know what it's like to watch your entire family implode in a hospital room? Because what happened next, the choice I had to make, the ultimatum I gave them all, I was going to either save us or finish destroying what little we had left. And I only had about 12 hours to decide which path to take. The nurse, bless her, ushered us all out while they stabilized my mom. I stood in the hallway, my dad on one side, looking utterly shattered, Monica on the other, in complete shock. Amy squeezed my hand. You okay? I nodded, though I wasn't sure. My dad started to walk away, a defeated slumped his shoulders, but I stopped him. Where are you going? I need to think. No, I said, my voice firm. You need to listen. I looked at both him and Monica, my gaze unflinching. We're going to the cafeteria right now. And if you walk away, Dad, you'll lose all of us. We sat at a corner table with terrible hospital coffee. Nobody spoke for a long, agonizing moment. Then my dad put his head in his hands, his body trembling. I don't know how it got this bad. When did the gambling start? I asked quietly, my voice devoid of judgment, just seeking truth. He was silent for what felt like an eternity. 4 years ago, after I lost my job, I felt like a failure. A guy said he'd won big at the casino. Easy money. So I tried it once. He looked up, his eyes red and raw. Once became twice, then every week. Even when I got a new job, I couldn't stop. Why didn't you tell us? Monica whispered, her voice surprisingly soft.
Shame.
And then I was in too deep. Sarah, the people I owe, they're dangerous. I've been terrified. I took a deep, shaky breath. Dad, I'll help you, but not with money. His face fell, but I continued. I'll help you get into treatment. Help you talk to a debt counselor about bankruptcy if needed. Help you become the father and grandfather you should be. But I won't enable this anymore. Sarah, these people. Then we go to the police, I said, cutting him off. We do this the right way, but you have to want to change.
Do you?
He wrestled with himself, his internal conflict palpable. Finally, he nodded, a single tear tracing a path down his weathered cheek. I'm so tired. So tired of lying and being afraid. What about Mom and Leo? His voice cracked. I don't recognize myself anymore. When Brandon threw away that bracelet, I should have. He couldn't finish the sentence, overcome with emotion. Leo is beautiful, so creative and kind. And I made him feel invisible because I was jealous of you, of how you pulled your life together after Leo's dad left. I felt like such a failure that I took it out on an 8-year-old who never did anything wrong. Monica spoke up, her voice shaking. I need to apologize too. Derek didn't lose his job. We were hiding money from Dad. And I let Brandon be a brat because it was easier than parenting. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. When he threw away Leo's bracelet, and I laughed. I'll regret that forever. Then do something about it, I said, my voice challenging them both. Actually change. I made them promise to come to my house the next day. All of them, Dad, Monica, Derek, and Brandon. We were having a real family meeting, and they were all going to apologize to Leo face to face. The next afternoon, my living room was packed. My mom had checked out of the hospital early because she insisted on being there. She sat next to me on the couch, still wearing Leo's bracelet. Leo sat on my other side, confused but holding my hand tightly. My dad, without being prompted, knelt in front of Leo, his eyes full of remorse. "Leo," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I owe you the biggest apology. I've been a terrible grandfather. I didn't appreciate your kindness or your beautiful heart. The bracelet you made was the most thoughtful gift at that party, and I let someone hurt you. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you'll let me." Leo looked at me, then back at his grandpa, and I nodded slightly. "It's okay, Grandpa," Leo said softly, his innocent voice cutting through the tension. "Just like that, because kids have hearts bigger than we deserve." Brandon shuffled forward, uncomfortable and awkward. "Leo, I was a jerk. A big jerk. I'm really sorry." He pulled out a small, wrapped box. "I bought you new bracelet supplies, the fancy kind, because you're really good at it, and I was jealous I can't make anything that cool." Leo's face lit up, a genuine smile spreading across it for the first time in days. "Really?
Yeah, dude.
You're like artist-level good." Monica, tears streaming, knelt beside her son. "Leo, sweetie, I'm so sorry. You deserve to be protected and celebrated. I promise I'll do better." My mom held up her wrist, showing the faded bracelet. "I've worn this every day since your party," she whispered, her voice thick. "It's my most precious possession because you made it with love." Leo climbed into her lap and hugged her tight, finally letting go of the pain he'd been holding on to. Over the next months, things weren't perfect. Real healing never is. Dad struggled with his addiction, relapsed once, but got back into treatment. My parents separated while Mom worked through therapy to find her own voice. Monica and I had hard, brutally honest conversations about boundaries, about expectations, about respect. But slowly, painstakingly, we healed. Brandon and Leo became real friends. Brandon taught Leo soccer. Leo taught Brandon to draw. Dad never missed his Saturday museum trips with Leo. My mom moved in with me for 3 months, a quiet period of rediscovery for both of us. She and Dad eventually reconciled, but it was healthier now, built on honest communication and firm boundaries. 6 months later, we had another birthday party for Mom, smaller, just at my house. Leo made her another bracelet, even more intricate and beautiful than the first. When he gave it to her, the room went quiet, holding its breath. Mom held it like it was made of diamonds, tears welling in her eyes. "It's beautiful, Leo. Absolutely beautiful." Brandon leaned over to Leo. "Dude, that pattern is sick. Can you teach me?" My dad smiled, a genuine, joyful smile this time, his eyes clear. "That's my artistic grandson." And just like that, Leo was seen. Truly, really seen. As everyone laughed, my mom squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for not giving up on us, for saving this family." "We saved each other," I whispered, squeezing her hand back. "Families mess up. They hurt each other, sometimes deeply. But they can also choose to heal and become better. It just takes one person willing to say enough and mean it." So, what do you think? Have you ever had to set hard boundaries with family? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. If there's something you didn't like or think I could have handled better, share your opinion below. I really want to know what you think.